Hey everyone, welcome back to the Inner Forecast, your space to gain insight and foresight for the month ahead, so you know where to focus your time and energy. I'm Jen Rose, your host, a certified astrologer, Reiki practitioner, holistic nutritionist, and quantum healing hypnosis guide. Each month has its own energy, and my goal is to support your intuition and life planning through astrology, while also bringing in a special guest to share their magic and wisdom to help you navigate the month ahead. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Inner Forecast. I'm Jen, and I'm so happy you guys are here. I'm really looking forward to today's conversation. I think this season is asking us a question that feels really relevant. What does it actually mean to allow yourself to be seen? And what creative passions or projects are you wanting to share more of? Leo season is amongst us, and it often gets talked about, in terms of our confidence, creativity, stepping into the spotlight. But the other side of this is these are all definitely part of it. But I think this year is asking us to go a little bit deeper than that. It's asking what actually makes you feel most alive. So, because when you look at astrology of the season, it feels like we're standing at a turning point at the year, as we have some movement coming in, a little bit different. Listen to how you're feeling because we have Jupiter in Leo, which is asking us to stop playing small, to invest more in fully parts of our lives that make us feel alive. And then we have our first Leo solar eclipse that's opening up a new chapter around how we express ourselves, how we create and lead and trust our own voices. And because it's the South Node and it's moving into Leo, and the North Node is into Aquarius, we're also going to be asked to shift from seeking recognition to asking, how can I use my gift in service of something bigger than myself? So, these are a lot of different bigger questions that we're embarking on. And today I'm joined with Kelly, from the founder of Sanctuary Flowered Fields. Thanks, Kelly, for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm excited. Kelly and I are co-hosting a special event at Sanctuary Flower Farms where you get to come and pick your own flowers and learn how to make a flower crown, which flower crowns are beautifully aligned with Leo season because Leo is the sign of the heart, creativity, self-expression, and celebration. And throughout history, crowns have symbolized confidence, radiance, and honoring one's unique gifts. So creating and wearing a flower crown becomes this like simple but meaningful ritual, an invitation. And I'll be guiding you guys through the astrology part of August because it's just not just another month, as you can imagine, where I just kind of gave you guys a wordful there, but it's the beginning of a big new chapter for all of us. And with the first Leo solar eclipse, there's like several major astrological shifts, and it's already feeling like that there's something maybe percolating for us in terms of our change and our growth. So together we're going to be exploring what this means for you and how to recognize that and open new doors and how to work with your timing. So it's this like beautiful I want to say symbiotic relationship where we get to kind of like return to the light I think it's Sunday, August 15th, and it will be at the Sanctuary Flower Fields. And the link will be in the show notes so you guys can get more details about the event itself. But yeah, Kelly and I are going to talk a little bit about, jump right into, her. And I would love to hear a little bit about your magic that you bring into this world with your sanctuary farm or sanctuary field farm, like where this creation came from. Tell me a little bit of the story, the origin story.
Yeah, out of nowhere, really, is where it came from. I was never a gardener. I was never a farmer. I never dreamt of owning my own business. And yeah, I was working happily as a paramedic. Yeah, in Peterborough, in our county.
No
Um,
way. I didn't know
yeah,
this about you. This is great. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I was 14 years into doing that job. Actually, when I officially, I guess we could call it retired or quit or shifted gears.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I had my daughter, it was during COVID times, which were very isolating. My cousin invited me out to her farm and she said, I've got a cut flower patch. Do you want to come see it and pick some flowers? And we were all just looking for something to do from a distance. So went out there and I couldn't get over the feeling that I was left with just visiting her patch of flowers and cutting them. And like the arrangement wasn't the the goal. Like it wasn't the like, oh, I created this beautiful thing and now I need this in my life. It was how I felt being there and then how I felt when I left. I was like, I need this in my life, which was such a strange thing. Like it's just a patch of flowers. I like you'd expect it to be maybe like, oh, I've always been a flower lover and now I saw this and I was like, well, I must have that. But not at all. So I've never had like veggie gardens really. Like I pretty well kill all of the plants I've ever had. So I was like, well, I'm gonna have to find a way to get this into my life because this was just like um and yeah,
Dare
so
I say it happened organically, like pun
right?
intended, right? Yeah.
Truly, yeah. And so
Yeah.
I'd actually just went back to work as a paramedic from my maternity leave. I just returned back to work. And my first official day back to work after like my training was done, the pandemic was declared. And I was like, "Ah,"
Yeah.
it was a lot of, transitioning motherhood back in and all this stuff. So this came at this like serendipitous, lovely little time. And then it just, pun intended, like planted a little seed in there where I was like, I'm gonna have to find a way to have flowers in my life. So yeah, I was like, well, this year for my birthday in September, I want to rent a rototiller and till up a little patch in our yard. And that's literally how it started. I started my own little patch of flowers and I said, I think I want to make this something that I document along the way. And I remember my husband saying like, okay, well, we should set you up like a cute little spot so it looks nice. He didn't say cute, but you know what I mean. A
Yeah.
nice professional looking little area. And
Yes,
I
I
was
do.
right. And I was like, well, actually, I think I want to just share it like as this grungy little mess that it is. Like I am doing this off the garage floor and like we might as well share the real behind the scenes of like what this
Yeah.
journey looks like, how many plants I can kill, like how many survive. Yeah, and sure enough, we planted a little patch and it grew. A lot died, but a lot grew.
Yeah.
And it just gave me like it brought me so much joy and calm and just like clearly grounding and peace. And it was just this little bit that I was like, I needed in my life. And quite frankly, brought me way more joy than growing any vegetable ever has. No hate to the veggie farmers. It just like, it did something to me. Um, so then naturally I was like, well, I'm gonna need more of this. So the next year, the patch doubled in size. And then the year after that, it quadrupled. And then the year after that, I said, I think we should move out to the field out beside our house. We have 69 acres. So there was one like big unused field. And I was like, I think we're ready to graduate from the backyard. So, and then each year again, it's expanded in the field. And yeah, this is now where we're at. Like it's just sort of truly, yeah, keeps growing with us.
I love this. It's so the pandemic was kind of the launching pad for this like pivot for you in a lot of ways, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah, there's so many parts of it. So there it's so multifaceted, the decision to
of
switch.
course. But
And
it was, would you say like the big catalyst, like that, like time to be like, okay, because I feel like that for a lot of people, astrologically speaking, was sort of like the pause and pivot. Like, there were people that were making a lot of changes within their work because eclipses were there at the time, and people that were forced to come back home. And so there was this like parallel of like people either overworking or shifting their work, and then other people that were forced to come home. And so I think I call it like the pandemic pause because a lot of people had to reevaluate their lives around this time and like their goals and like what was actually nurturing them back to life through this like pandemic. So it's just interesting. But I want to make sure I heard that clearly because I'm going to have you tell me your big three, and I'm going to elaborate on if where it was in your chart. But go ahead.
yeah, I love that term, the pandemic pause. And I do think that's exactly what it was. It wasn't the jump off point of like this should be your new
Right.
like journey.
Yeah.
but it was exactly that. It was a pause to be like, this is something I need to do and want to do. I don't know why, I don't know how, I don't know what I'm going to do with this, a flower farmer in Canada, like in Ontario, like look at our growing growing time frame. It's not a lot. But it did give me that pause for sure. And then that little seed that was planted just stuck with me and kind of kept nagging, like, there's something here, and just started the dream. Um, there were some other parts of it where, you know, my second child that I had, and then a close friend of mine who was pregnant at the same time, she passed away in childbirth, and we were expecting like our little second babies right around the same time. And that tragedy sort of coincided with all of this in this closely woven, powerful, yeah, tragedy. And it again, it just shook me right apart and took me back to that moment of like the pause you said, where you're like, what am I doing? And first I was like, okay, I should go back to work. Like, I should, like, I was at work when it all happened, and I was like, I guess I just keep working. And after I was like, no, I need to be home. Like, I need to take care of myself. I was still like growing my little baby.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, but during that time, it just spent like really reevaluating, what do I want for my life? What's important? What do I want for my kids, my family? What is it all about? So definitely the pause was part of it. And then these tragedies and everything just got shaken right up, but gave me an opportunity to try and, I guess, piece my life back together with intention and put things where I want them and restructure what's important to me, and just really have a good hard look at my life. And I would never say I'm grateful for a tragedy, but I am grateful for the perspective that it shook into me of like, I don't know, I probably would have just stayed on autopilot. So, yeah, a big decision part, but yeah, I remember one night just like sitting back outside, looking up at the night sky and being like, what am I doing? Like, I don't know what life is even about. And it's funny that I'm meeting with you today. I've thought of this so much. I remember like looking at the night sky and just like so vast and so many stars, and thinking like, if you zoom out your lens, like we are just this little itty bitty speck on this tiny little earth in this massive universe that we can't even fathom. And when you think of, your teeny tiny little existence and our short little lifespan, it's like, why are we not just like living it to all of like the most extremes? I don't mean like extremes, but like, why aren't we just like doing it up? Why aren't we trying everything? Like, why aren't we following what lights us up and like giving it a real true shot? So that like,
There's music to my ears. This is
oh, I
the
love
year
that.
of this is the year for this, and you're speaking from the heart, which is very apparent, and this is very much the tone of this year. And I love that you're sharing this from a personal experience because this is supposed to kind of ripple into the energy of what this year is. And I feel like you encompass that so beautifully by sharing your own experience. Like I always say, astrology is happening whether we know it or not, but we can feel it. We can
Mhm.
feel what's coming through our lens and our reality. And to your point, you zoomed out naturally by looking at the stars. And I find that looking at a chart is actually zooming out like life that's noiseful and tuning back into yourself and being like, okay, wait, this is what this is really about. And how do I want to actually proceed based on understanding like the bigger picture of what's transpiring in my life? Now, because you've shared so much and so like I was like, okay, I want people to hear because the tradition on the podcast is to hear what your big three is, because I feel like those who know astrology will be like, oh, okay, this makes a little more sense about you, and I would love to hear your take on it. So if you're able to just share briefly what your big three is, I know we talked about this a little bit beforehand, but like, yeah, if what your rising sign is, so this is again, guys, the way in which you look at life and the way that life looks back at you. I always kind of describe it as like your aura, or like say like the handshake that you give somebody when you first meet them. It's like that first introduction. And then the sun is really what your radiance is, like how you present yourself, your persona, your ego. like how you want to show up and emote. And then your moon is obviously more personable, right? If you think about the moon is up at night, it's more intimate. It's like, what you need, what makes you feel safe. All of this kind of comes into your energy in the way you express. So yeah, so to share the people that are listening what your sun, moon, and rising is.
Yeah, I love those descriptions, first off. And just so everyone is aware, how much of a newbie I am to this, I had to Google and be like, what are these things? And what am I? So I find it so fascinating. So my rising is Pisces.
Hmm.
My sun is Virgo, and my moon is Leo.
There we go. The Leo, that's where it is. That you're right, speaking from the heart, the expressive and sharing what's going on. You're at the front of the line with this year, especially with the eclipse and the energy being all on there. And I feel like whether eclipse is sort of a lightning in a bottle moment and help us kind of reorientate ourselves, but it feels like as you were sharing before earlier, like you're like I don't always like if the camera like a big misconception about Leos is that like they're always like on and they're ready to be on stage, but in reality they're actually quite shy unless they're with the right people. And then when they're with the right people, like their warmth just kind of comes naturally out and like helps other people feel that. And I was like right off the bat, like, and there's a little bit of humor that I love about the way your cadence and what you share. Um, but yes, I want to hear from you. Like, what does that mean for you? But before I kind of go into my astrology mind here, like, how do you relate to to these three pillars or
Yeah,
humans?
well, first off, I'm learning about them. So I don't feel like I have a lot of information to be like, I connect with this, that, and the
Okay.
other.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But the little tidbit you just shared about, coming out of your shell with people that you feel comfortable with is like to a T. I feel like people that I don't know well, or people that we can't like get past the small talk, and we're just like, about the weather. I'm like this awkward, like, "Ugh." Whereas people that are like, can I tell you about my day? I need to like dump all of this on you. I'm like, yes, you are my person. Like, give it to me. What do you got? So, yeah, what you said, just that one sentence, I was like, okay, yeah, she gets it.
Well, the Virgo sun over here too is like Virgos, not to say all of them are in the field of health and wellness, but there is something about the trajectory of that. So I always say, and you've probably heard, if you're an avid listener, your sun sign isn't something you're like, oh, I'm this right out the gate. It's something you wanted to grow and learn about. So like Virgos are learning about the health and wellness sectors. Like they're here to kind of be of service to whether you're into naturopath or doctors, like there's a healing energy about them. Um, they're ruled by their gut. And I know based on the fact that your rising sign is Pisces, you're in the house of like one-on-one relationships. So like I'm sure people come to you and you do really well with like the one-on-one dynamics and like have that sort of natural edge of being of service. I see people that have sort of a sun sign in the seventh house can be like counselors, and it's interesting. So there's this feeling and sense of like that groundedness, but then of course, like the Leo, which is like they really get to know you. It's also, funnily enough, in the house of being of service. But there's like a play, like there's a creativity, and um, what I love about having a Pisces rising is that it's this energy of like there must be something bigger out there than just like you said, like the way that you just described it. So this is what I love. It's like what's going on in the universe called life, right? Pisces is about like something beyond what we can actually see. It's this feeling and this intuition of this like understanding the human condition. I like to say Pisces is like at the end of the cycle of life because they really understand, what humans go through, through all of it. And that's why they have such sympathy for people. And I think for you, that comes naturally. Like when you go and shake your hand, people feel this sense of like, oh, there's this like feeling about you that's not I don't want to say like mystic, but like it has this like, energy about you that feels like inviting. Do you feel like people like they can come to you and like there's like a soft place to land?
I do feel like, yeah, I feel which. Yeah, I feel like a lot of times I'm like, whoa, we got deep today. And like, nice to meet you. What's your last name? Which I'm like, I'm honored. I'm honored that
Yeah.
people would feel comfortable to put that on my heart. But yeah, I'm also like, I love that too. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
interesting. You said something there about the Pisces and the end being at the end of a lifetime. And it sort of like cued my memory to again, like making the decision to shift jobs and careers and like a whole other life path. Um, like I spent so long like in my brain, like, how do I decide? How do I decide? And like I knew my gut was very strong, but I also was like, I need some like evidence and I need something, some like more bits of gathering from as many sources as I could get. But anyways, one of the things I thought of was when I get to the end of my life, like this, I wanted to try and like utilize this reverse perspective of like when I'm looking back at my life, when I'm on my deathbed, whenever that is, what am I going to think about in that pivotal moment? Like, am I going to be like, yeah, you stayed the course, like, yep, or are you going to be like, you had a choice to really chase something magical here, and like, and you did or you didn't. And I'm not saying, and I acknowledge the privilege in that statement of being like, not just like everyone can just be like, well, I'm just going to quit today and, hope that it all works out tomorrow. But that really helped me nail down that decision of being like, I know I will regret this. I know I'll look back and be like, why didn't you do that? Like fear held you back, or like maybe my ego of like being like, I had this stable, shiny job, and now being like, now I'm a farmer, right? And yeah, but looking at all those parts and being like, nope, I know I will regret this, and being able to be here for my kids and all this stuff. So it's interesting that you said this Pisces part at the end of your life, because that was a big deciding factor when I was like, obviously we don't know what we're going to regret in our life, but I was like, I really strongly feel that I will regret if I don't do this.
And then what I love is that you are ruled by your gut. And so there's this feeling and sense like I love, so we're in this trajectory right now because we're switching the guards of like the Pisces and the Virgo energy that we've all been collectively working on since January 11th. So this is something you live in real time, but people are also experiencing this where it's this idea of like faith versus like logic and like how these two intersect. Like how can we um, believe in something bigger and trust something that we can't always see, but know intuitively that is our guiding light versus this idea that like if we got to be analytical, practical, and like build systems and do it this way, right? Like how can these two come together? I always say Virgo and Pisces are like the signs of the healer, but they just do it in different ways. There's like this feeling and sense that Pisces is healing through the soul, and Virgos are healing through the body. So it's like, and we need the soul doesn't exist without the body, right? Like the body doesn't exist without the soul. Like you can get as many messages as you want, but if you're not living in your body, then you're like in you're separated. So it's like this idea of like how we come together. And so what I love about this is this risingness is like this energy of faith. You went through something really profound, like not just internally, but experiencing that through your friend, right? And having that go through and bring up that external question within yourself and and then and then not live without regret. So it's so interesting because also just knowing the timing that you shared, the eclipses for that period for you, which is what we're coming up into August, which is why August matters for a lot of people. But you're sharing in real time about past, is that the eclipses were in Capricorn and Cancer, and for you, that's in your house of friendship and also your house of creativity. So there's
Mhm.
like at its most simplest form. Of course, I just diluted it, but at its
Sure.
most simplest form, friendship, goals, things you want to build about your future, that Capricorn energy. And then the fifth house is like inner child, children, being at home, how you want to create and nurture something to grow. So while everyone else was kind of doing this dance, that's where it became more personal for you. And this is also what's going to be if you choose to come to this beautiful workshop, which I hope you do, is what you guys will get a little bit, you get more information about, okay, what is this actually, what am I working towards and what am I releasing from? And what are the themes in my life that are going to show up so that I know how to co-create with this. So, yeah, so I'm glad you really, really shared that.
Yeah, my mind is just blown. Like the connecting of the dots through it all is just it's fascinating.
That's what I find it's interesting because I've always been somebody who loves patterns and just like to find the pattern and why. Like I was the inquisitive child. I'm a Gemini stallion, which means I have like four planets there. Um, and my moon is Sagittarius. So there's this like I came in this life with a lot of questions and not a lot of answers. And so coming through, the tunnel called life and being here on Earth school is like, okay, well, I'm gonna have go through a lot of different experiences and a lot of different educations and teachings and everything so I can really understand the bigger questions that my mom would be like, no one goes that deep. And I'm like, but I do, you know? I'm like, she's like, you really make people think about things that I don't know they want to think about. And I was like, well, I need to know? So it's
I
like,
love that. Somebody's got to go dig down there and get to the bottom of it.
yes, exactly, right? So this is what sort of perpetuated this lifelong learner within me and finding astrology has been such a gift because you can study it for a lifetime and not know enough. And so that really quenches my thirst and my hunger because I was like, oh wow, okay, like I can keep going with this. So um
That's so
yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah.
And I feel like so often we always say like there's no guidebook to life or there's no rule book and yes, of course, and how could there be? But also in times of like grief or so many different times in your life where you're just uncertain and you don't know what to do or things it's like turmoil and change. I find I'm often like, oh, like where do I get direction? Like I know my gut, like you said, the logical, but the gut also, like it's like a ping pong game, right? Where you're like, okay, but. And the astrology portion is kind of like this loose little guidebook that's kind of nice to have there to be like, okay, yeah, that lands. Like that actually does provide some clarity and makes sense. So, what a cool thing that, yeah, that it is there is a little guidebook to life.
Yeah, I absolutely feel like there's so many tools out there to help us with these bigger existential questions. And I think that it's just this was the avenue that really spoke to me. And it felt like I got a visual map to something I was viscerally feeling. I've always been a really big feeler. So why are some days do I feel like, whoa? And then other days it's like, I was like, where can we find the consistency in this? So even, we're recording right now and it's Mercury retrograde, like I find just knowing the dates in which things won't necessarily go as linear or that there's themes that might come up sort of relieves us from this pressure of like I think this like false narrative that we have about like, okay, well, it's not going this way, like, rather than like, let's take a step back to your point, you when we're on autopilot, we don't learn, right? I think a yoga teacher actually said this to me so well, eloquently said, which is like, I think that we think suffering is the ultimate enemy, but really comfort is in a lot of ways. And so I think there's comfort in things in terms of our routines and stuff that is necessary, but then sometimes it doesn't allow space for us to do these pivots or for us to realize these things. So like, okay, there's a Mercury retrograde, not, right in the month we're going to talk about, but right now as we're recording, it's like, okay, well, it relieves this feeling of pressure. It's like, okay, what can I actually learn from these detours, these miscommunications, and zoom out a little bit more. And that I feel like was just so helpful in these like times where it was like, whoa, it's feeling something. And I actually just ran into my friend who I shared with you, and she was like, what's going on with the astrology? This just happened to me in the car. And I was like, I shared, and she was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. I thought I was, going crazy or something, right? So it's often validating your own intuition or helping you piece something together. My favorite thing is to go back, actually, even more than I do enjoy going forward, because often you're like, this person or that happened in this event. And it's like, okay, let's look at this date and let's piece it together. Yeah, there was an accident maybe that happened then, and this was your life lesson with it. This is like, XYZ, right? So it helps, I think, in like you said, in instances where things feel nonsensical. It doesn't cushion the blow, because it is sometimes there are hard things that we have to experience that I don't wish that on anybody. But at the same time, sometimes it can create meaning towards something that feels really harsh at the
Yeah,
time.
I love that. That is, yeah, that really fits.
That's such a great way to put it. I'm glad that's I'm enjoying our conversation already.
Lovely,
We just got started here.
right?
I had to say that out loud. So okay, so you shared a little bit about your background, your big three, and your view and take on life, which I think is so fitting. But I'm curious, like, through I love the lens of showing people. Oh, frozen.
Sorry,
Sorry,
it's
froze for a minute.
yeah, there we
Yep,
go.
yep, as we do. So we're just rolling with it. Um, I wanted to know, what have flowers, taught you about creativity?
Yeah, a whole lot. I would say that the biggest take home with flowers and creativity is it isn't like my first initial experience going to my cousin's cut flower patch is it wasn't about the flowers that I took home and the arrangement that I made. It was terrible. I didn't like obviously it was like it wasn't the most aesthetically pleasing thing, but it wasn't about that. It was about creating. Like it was about the experience and the time spent doing the thing and where your mind goes or where it doesn't go and how your body feels in the moment, not the like end result thing. So like flowers are so pretty. We all know that. And people who are like, "Oh, I can't arrange these." It's like, you can only do so bad. Like they're beautiful. Flowers are really pretty. And at the end of the day, it really isn't about taking home this jar that you're like, this looks like it could be in a magazine. It's the creative part of it of just like losing yourself and finding some calm. And I guess like the pause that I hope sits with everyone the way I've experienced it. And so far, from what I've seen, it has. Like people come for the experience, less for the flower. And the other the other kind of neat thing about it is like the impermanence of it all.
Mm.
One, they're annuals, so they're not coming back each year. We're starting them over. And two, we know they have a vase life that's short, right? So flowers are going to die. That is the point that you bring them home in their beauty and you enjoy them and you enjoy the moment that you know they're not going to last. Like which is so hard to embrace impermanence. I initially was, well, I still struggle with it. Like no one wants to do that, but that is the ultimate suffering is like thinking things will not change and things will not end. So there's so many like creative little lovely messages that we get just from, you know, coming out, picking some flowers and then going home and watching them die on your counter. Like that doesn't sound very nice, but like the through and through lessons are just like they're there for you if you want to kind of feel them and look at them.
I love that you said that. That really landed the non-permanency, like the permanency of things, not lasting forever. And also what really was highlighted for me is the presence, right? Bringing us back to presence and recognizing that enjoying the moment is the point. And therefore, things are meant to shift and they're going to change. It's inevitable,
Yes.
right? The good, the bad, the ugly, it's all here, right? And so enjoying that little piece of presence and beauty for however long it decides to live on your counter is the point. It keeps you actually in that present moment until it shifts. And I remember hearing someone say that, and I'm so happy that you brought it up here because I think and feel into the astrology behind this, which for me is just like a finger on the pulse of like what we're collectively moving through that keeps us unified rather than segregated, even though we have our own unique ways in our own charts where it emotes onto, it also for me is like, oh, this is what we're collectively going through. It helps us unify. And so it's interesting because I feel like with the South Node entering Leo, which will be on the July 26th, is really going to be that energy of us, working with presence and working with our presence and being present and our expression and are the right audience for us, and not our egos, right? Like our egos are the ones that are like don't want to get bruised because we're like what we say and what we want to express isn't received well. So there might be moments like that as well, but the whole point is to not dim our lights, right? Not to dim our lights um, through growth, because I feel like flowers teach us that in a lot of ways. Like, right, there's going to be moments where you bloom, and then there's going to be moments when you wilt, and then there's going to be moments where you put a bouquet together, and you're like, "What is this?"
Right?
Okay, right. I
Yeah.
guess yeah. It was like, was I blind? I don't know what I was doing. um, but that's not the point, right? And I think that that is what really is the heart of what we're coming to create, is that how can creativity create this aliveness within us, and actually why I feel like we're returning to light is the appropriate name for this gathering, because it'll be right on the the tailcoat of 8-8 portal, and also just this new shift, this new chapter that we're all embarking together in different areas of life, and really, how do we want to find our voice in that this chapter of our life? How do we want to find our voice? How do we want to find our people too? Because the other
Mhm.
side of it, the south node, is what we're really seeing and reworking and reorientating ourselves with. The north node on July 26th is where we're headed, and so the reason it's big is that this is like an energy of collective, like coming together, finding our community, finding our friends, like gathering. It's really essential for us to maybe go in person, rather than be online, which, it's nice to have these both accessible, but following a different vision, finding a different path. A lot of people, again, I don't know what it is about this year, but it does bring up some feelings of the pandemic, just because I think people had to reorientate themselves a lot. And there's a feeling and sense that this year has a similar tone, in the way that we're in a 1 year, and in the way that we've had 5 different planets move into different areas of your life. And when that happens, it's like you're back in school again, trying something different or reorientating something, right? It's been like decades in one area where we got all cozy and comforted, and then we're like, okay, we're now graduating and going back to like the first day of school. So, right.
Absolute garbage. But at the same time, I feel like it's such a good thing because I mean, like you said, it's good to get uncomfortable. No one wants to do it, but you can stay on autopilot so easily. And if we take these seconds to be like, okay, well, let's lay it all out there. Like you really get to take control back of your life of being like, okay, wait, I'm making some decisions. Like it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to change paths. It's okay to change priorities. And the thing that really sucks is if you don't like act on it, right? So yeah, finding that time to like pause and tying into the creativity part of it too is it's so hard to pause. We're so in autopilot and I mean, not speaking for everyone's nervous system, but mine can really get stuck like, right? So finding the pause is so hard and that's where creativity helps like ease that, right? You get busy cutting flowers or you get busy making your flower crown and your hands are busy and then your mind's like, whew. And that's where you're like, okay, now I can actually think. So it really, I feel like it doesn't matter what we're getting together doing in community. It's just about taking the time to do it. And that's the whole point.
Yeah, I love what you said too, because I feel like you created a sanctuary, and I feel like you're a living, walking example of you can create the reality that you want. So, what would you say you've learned from following your heart and taking that leap of faith on something that wasn't a sure thing, but something that intrinsically felt undeniable at this point in your stage of your life?
It's fascinating and I don't want to be this person that's like everyone should do it. Everyone should quit their job. Everyone just like if you like popsicles, like start a like ice cream truck. Like, that was a really weird example, but like not just
Or
like
was it?
yeah,
Was
well,
it?
somebody out there is listening right now. But and like obviously different factors that I was able to do this, and I don't want to downplay that. But yeah, there I see why people I see why people stay because change feels a lot more uncomfortable than you'd think. And even if you deep down know it's going to be good change, it doesn't present like that. And I remember my therapist telling me, like, just because it's bringing up, like, I was getting close to my last day as a paramedic and I was like a mess. I was crying my eyes out. And she was like, don't confuse those big feelings as this is like a wrong decision or like a bad gut feeling. This is just grief ending a chapter. And I was like, oh, thank goodness. Like, and I just sort of kept having to trust that intuition and the gut feeling and all these like signs and like this woo that I was like, I don't know, I'm just going through it.
Yeah.
And it was really fascinating each step forward into the unknown. There was like another connection or another, like I actually said it felt like constellations, like it was like stars getting connected. Like it was just like, you know, the dot to dot of all the people you meet and your community and how you're sort of like, okay, I know I was meant to meet you. And I guess this is how, like, whoever thought we were going to be here. Um, yeah. And I mean, I stepped out into thin air, and I feel like truly like the universe had my back. And uh, the whole way through. It's been very like there's been a lot of uncomfortable, there's been a lot of self-doubt. It's brought up a lot of stuff that I had packed down, that we all do. We don't want to shine a light on the hard stuff. But facing those things and like looking at them head on and stepping through them and moving through them and growing with them is such like a liberating feeling. So yeah, it's been a wild ride and I wouldn't change it for the world.
I love that. I love that. See, this is a perfect example of like when we take the time, which we are currently in, Mercury retrograde, to reflect on emotional memories that um often, have the spectrum of emotion, the good, the bad, and everything that comes with it. It helps you piece together parts of your life. And so on Wednesday, July 23rd, I will say, like, Mercury station's direct in Cancer. So like, this is actually a really positive example of like how retrogrades can be really retrospective in reviewing and revising and then reclaiming in a lot of ways. But I want to mention to other people, if you guys have felt like you may be a little more emotional than usual, or thinking a lot more about family or old memories, or even past conversations, like, or realizing something's changed. This is where things around the 23rd are going to start to move forward again. So Mercury retrograde in Cancer is trying to keep, isn't trying to, well, so I shouldn't say it's trying to keep us like back there, but it's trying to help us understand like how the past has influenced our decisions today, right? So if you've realized, something after these periods of time, this is when things kind of come down the tunnel, a conversation or a boundary or a decision. Like this is the time to sort of consolidate what's been, coming through from, June 29th to July 23rd. So if you're listening, a little helpful thing to maybe look back on in your calendar to see what was coming up for you. Sorry, there's a little bit of a lag, so I'm just like waiting for it to just come back. Like I love how it's actually playing into what we're doing, because this is also part of it, right? Like the astrology, the technology, it's like, yeah, it's not gonna flow as nicely as we want it to, but that's not the point, right?
Go with
Yeah, we're going with it. We're going with
it.
it. Okay, so I will mention just like a couple dates as we're here and there. I will say on July 26th, we have another, retrospective. We have Saturn stopping in Aries, um, like station retrograde. So it's like a time for us to slow down, and to our point, like slowing down is actually a good thing. Because then you're like, I'm yielding rather than just like go, go, go. We keep going at the same pace, right? It's just, we're about to burn out. So if you're listening and you're feeling like, oh, I'm just slowing down a little bit, it's like this is actually a good thing. And also you can join us for more of a, a slow down and in community. But yeah, so Saturn is he's our life lesson in our chart, and um, he's helping us try to articulate like what we're trying to build, something that we want to last. And it's in Aries, so for us, it doesn't want to Aries wants to move quickly, but Saturn's asking why. Why do you want to move quickly? Why do you want this, right? Who told you success look like that? Is that actually your dream, right? Or have you been chasing someone else's, right? This can show up around our work, our career, our relationships, or even like expectations we've been quietly like placed on ourselves. So, it's really because Saturn is trying to take something, not trying to take something away, but he's trying to really make sure that we're um, building something that feels true to ourselves, especially because it's in Aries, which has to do with ourselves. So this is a time where like those questions I brought up are helpful, right? And then that's also the day where the North Node enters Aquarius and the South Node enters Leo. So this is the whole part that we're going to be talking. Well, I will be talking about. Kelly will be there doing the flower crown part of it, helping us
Okay, good.
create our realities, which I love because I actually say to people all the time, like, all this information, insight doesn't equal transformation, right? It actually is like there to help you do something with it. And so I say to clients, like, if you're feeling unstable, you should like start doing something physical, right? Like go like do a plank, like if you're feeling this. So it's like if you're feeling in this instance, like going and doing something that's going to help you get out of your head and into your body and like creating things with this is like it's like kind of helping you perpetuate this feeling of intention of this new chapter for yourself in creating the reality you want, creating something from your heart, wearing it around your head. Like there's intention behind this because of the way the energy is moving. So yeah, this is a big day and this is like a new chapter for all of us. So, it's a big shift in the entire season. So if you've been feeling the last year like a little bit more in feeling and healing and all that played a role in what we were working on for the 18 months, but this is our new 18-month journey of coming back to our heart center, figuring out what it is we want to express. Maybe I always say to clients, sometimes we have to bleed out just to recalibrate. And then, right, bleed out just to recalibrate. Where's what do you call it, Kelly? The defibrillator? What's the thing called where it's like you shock
Oh,
your
the
heart?
defibrillator? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Like that to me is like very South Node Leo. And then, working on the tunnel, which is our throat chakra, which is to our head, or North Node, which I think is like our higher minds, right? Like our higher mind connecting to the bigger picture of what our vision is. So these two are intersecting and coming together. I'll explain a little bit more when we get together, but yeah, just something to kind of sink your teeth into. Um, what do you say is like one of the most uh, like what do you hope women leave from when they or what do you experience you see when you like throw events like this when their women gather and they maybe do an event like this, like what do you think the takeaway is or what do you witness? I'm not if you understand what I'm saying.
No, I totally get it.
Yeah, yeah,
I feel like when people arrive, it's
yeah,
often the same. It's like, what are we doing? I don't know. I don't know. Like, I don't know how to cut. I don't know how to make arrangements. I'm not creative. This is gonna look terrible. Can you just do this for me? Like, I don't know. Is like the flower theme for starting. And
yeah.
then, or event stuff, it's even just sort of like, the shoulders high, like, I don't know. And by the end, I find people linger. And I'm like, that is an honor that you
Mm.
feel called to just to be here. And I mean like linger in the best way. I feel like linger is a bad word, but it gets a bad rap. But like that's a lovely thing when people want to linger in your space. And I always say this in the field too. I'm like, stay as long as you want. Like this is the whole point is to like to experience it. And then but like people just keep going. They start adding more flowers. I'm like, trust the process. Just keep adding, keep going. And by the end, people are just like the shoulders down, relaxed, and they're like, this was just so lovely. We will be back. And it's like this, like just lightened, like this weight lifted ease. And yeah, I mean, I don't stand out here like a little creeper in the field to be like, how's your experience? I do keep it quite self-directed where I'm like, you do your thing, everything's set up for you here, but I also do pop out. And yeah, it's people who come with little expectation or don't know what they're doing or are apprehensive leave just like, all right, this was lovely. And same goes for even workshops in the studio. Like we've had some like corporate sort of like Christmas arrangement ones. And so a wide variety of people coming, right? That are not necessarily the people you would be like, oh yeah, I can imagine he would sign up for a floral workshop. And at the beginning, they're just sort of like, well, I don't know. And then again, you see them like over there, sticking all the pieces in, and after they're like, look what I made. I'm like,
Yeah.
that is the goal. Like to just, yes, the product, but like the experience of just like, yeah, you got lost in it. And that's the whole point. So yeah, it is so lovely. More so than seeing people come is seeing people go. And seeing, that they had that time for themselves, and hopefully that lightness carries through a little longer than just the day.
Right, right, absolutely. I love that because I feel like you just explained like the whole experience of like when you're walking into a new space and then the idea of like creating the sanctuary of this place where an activity you can do to kind of like get out of your head and get back in your body, like we keep saying, and then they're like lingering because it's a good sign because they don't want to leave. They want they want to stay in this like lovely sanctuary. And so what
Yeah.
I'm really excited about in terms of our workshop with these women that join is that it's a chance to come and learn, and then it's also a chance to come and create. And I feel like these two are powerful pillars because when we learn, we can take that information and be empowered by it and choose our adventure and choose how we want to play our cards. Like I say, astrology information is there to help you co-create with your life. And then with that intention, we have this like beautiful ritual and of creating something that creates meaning and to Riplify. So I mean, I laugh about this with Kelly, but like this is a workshop I want to come to. Yeah, I'm like this would be right up my alley. Like,
Right? And when you feel that, you're like, okay, I want to go to this. Then
um,
you're like, okay, we hit it. We got it. We got a good one coming.
yeah. 100%. Yeah. So yeah, my intention and hope for those that come is they come a little bit with a big heart and an open mind and, you know, ready to engage with, different people, but also to gain some clarity on, what this month is and how to work with this next chapter with themselves. And then, set some intentions with this beautiful, flower sanctuary. And is there anything that they should know a little bit more about, like the flower part? I mean, we kind of covered a lot, but yeah.
Yeah. Again, like, of course, I'm sure there are going to be some people that are like, I want mine to look really pretty. And by all means, go for it. But the hope is you'll kind of stroll the field, pick the flowers that sort of speak to you. We can go over some of the meanings too of some of the different flowers. Um, and then, yeah, we'll go over through like the sort of tutorial of how to actually like weave the crown together and how to make it for yourself. Um, but just I guess you kind of have two different parts of this is like picking the flowers, which is its own experience, and then the creative part of actually making the crown. Um, so yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like you can't go wrong with that. It's going to
Can't
be
go wrong with it. Yeah.
right.
Yeah. I will say, if you're interested in the workshop and what we're talking about, if you do know your rising sign, that would be helpful. And just because then I'm able to tell you a little bit more personable what this year is and entails. And that no worries if you still want to join and you don't know it. There's going to be information there that's going to be helpful for you, but it would be great a little bit of insight that I can elaborate on and personalize a little bit more for you. So there's that. But yeah. Okay. Well, I have fully enjoyed this conversation with you and hearing your story. And I feel like we gave the viewers a little bit of an idea of, what this month is and why it's important. And also the importance of gathering with people is it goes long beyond just this month. It is very much the tone of the year. So, if you feel called or to create stuff more or to be with people, I encourage you to come together. Like something really magical happens, especially when women kind of gather with intention. Like it's just it's really it's been replicated through centuries and centuries and centuries, and there's reason why we keep gathering. So, right, like it's important, right? I mean, not to divide us, because men are so equally invited and welcomed in this space, but we do outlive the men because we do gather, and we do talk to each other, and we need to talk to each other. Holding space for each other is so important. I can only do my job as well as I do it from the people that I, um, invest in, that can hold space for me. And so, I think that this is something that can be important to note, like as we move into the season, from our nurturance home, what's secure, what feels good, Cancer, into the Leo, which is like the heart. And I think, like I describe it as, sometimes I think there's two parts to our heart. There's the heart in the front and the heart in the back, and one of them is receiving, and one of them is as giving. So it's kind of like the Cancer and the Leo are like on either end, and they're ready to, like, to vibrate, to beat together. So
I
yeah, yeah.
love that.
Um, Thank you for being here, Kelly. I really appreciate this.
This has been so lovely. I just checked my calendar here because, of course, I have a very short memory. So the event is Saturday, August 15th, and it's here in Ennismore at Sanctuary Flower Fields. So yeah, I really hope we get a good crew of people. And if you're curious and you want to come on your own, Jen and I will be here, and we're here to welcome you. So don't feel like you need to bring a whole group and a whole posse to this type of thing. Yeah, I think it's going to be such a magical evening, and I just can't wait. I know it's going to be awesome.
I love that invitation too, because often I like to go to things alone, because then it invites me to meet people in a
Mhm.
different way, right? If you're with your friend, that's so great, but then sometimes it doesn't allow you to, like, put yourself out there a little bit more, which is very much the Leo energy and tone, to put yourself out there and to try to, engage with someone maybe you don't know. You never
Yes,
know. I say get
I love that.
curious about the people that are around you. We never know why we're in alignment in that moment, but there's always a reason.
Ooh.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening, and until next time, bye.
Bye.
Or I'll stop recording.
Okay, I was like, do I
But
have to leave?
no, no. Like, no. Uh,
Oh, well, that was lovely. Man, you do such a great job.
I, I fully enjoyed listening to your story. It was, honestly, you are, I was like, oh, hold on, let me just do two things at once.
Oh
Stop.
yeah, no, that's fair.
There we go. If this sparks something within you guys, and you guys want to go deeper to learn a little bit more about what this next chapter looks like for you, what's this next leg of the journey where you're being guided to grow into and release, you should join us at Sanctuary Field Farm on August 15th. We're going to be picking flowers, getting a little tutorial through Kelly, and you're going to go a little bit deeper into your next chapter with me, some insights so that you can co-create with the life that you are desiring, and work with the astrology ahead.